Let's just get right
Hello.
into it. There's been some interesting news to happen. I think we probably all saw this coming, but Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin, it's been reported as both the teams and the players are mutually agreeing that the players will not play for those teams
hmm
anymore until they find a new team. And let's start with Blake Griffin. I think there's a lot of teams that could use him. I think he's obviously not as athletic as he was. I'm sure you saw this or have heard this.
hmm
He hasn't dunked once this year.
Mm. He hasn't dunked since last year.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was only
no,
5 times last year.
yeah. Well, no, it was like no. I think the statistic, the thing I said, the thing I read. I mean, was that he hasn't dunked since like 2019 or something like that.
Yeah, which is
You know,
crazy.
yeah, which I guess makes sense with like all his injuries because he's had a bunch of injuries. But I mean, his second year in Detroit, that was his best year of his career. And he's
Right?
not. He wasn't what he was athletic at that point, and I don't think he's changed that much now. I don't know, if you see him now, I don't think he's washed. I just think he just doesn't look aggressive at all.
Yeah, I agree totally. I was going to hit on that. I don't think he's washed either, and he can add a lot to a team because
hmm
he's really become a great playmaker. And his shot, it hasn't been the best this year, but he's still scoring a good amount of points. But that his second year in Detroit, shooting wise, that was who saw that coming with how his career
Yeah, no, he
had.
definitely added the thing is though now it's like he's still shooting. The thing now though is like he's shooting a lot more. You know,
Hmm.
like if you see him play, it's been a bunch of catch and shoots. He's been spawning up a ton. And that's not really who Blake Griffin is.
No, that's not him. And I think it will be interesting to see where he goes because a lot of teams that could use him. He'll probably be like your third or fourth option or coming off the bench. What are some teams that you think he'll go to, or some
Uh,
teams you'd like to see him go to?
well, let's say you get spot out or whatever.
No one's trading for him. I want to put that out there. No, if you trade for him, I'm sorry. Not because he's terrible or anything, just that contract.
Well, same thing with like Andre Drummond though. Is like he can't. He's way worse than Blake Griffin.
He's been
Uh,
all right this year. He's been all right, but he's for that. It is a 1 year deal, but still, I don't see the Cavs getting a lot for him. But let's start with Blake. So where
yeah,
do you see
no.
him going?
Uh, I did see that the Lakers have some interest in him. But I don't know how they could make that work. They would have like five center/forwards,
Right.
who are all pretty good. But I don't know. I mean, a team like the Clippers could really use him. Toronto, Toronto's another team that's been trying to get Andre Drummond recently. Um, and so I don't. There aren't really many. There really aren't teams that need a four. I mean, they really need a five. And when you're talking about the four, it's another thing too of like more teams seem to go in the direction of getting a small forward playing the four, basically.
Mhm.
Instead of Blake Griffin, though, because honestly, in today's game, Blake Griffin's basically a center.
Right, and I've heard some interesting things, and I've thought some interesting things. I've heard the Celtics, and I think that could be interesting. He would be coming off the bench for the Celtics, obviously. And I think that could be good for him because
Well, even
we
on
talked
Celtics,
about
though,
this.
I think Blake Griffin would definitely start.
You think so? I guess they would just move Tatum to the three. It makes sense. His
Blake
natural
Griffin
position.
is definitely a better player than Tristan Thompson or Daniel Tice.
Right. Yeah. I also the Warriors will be interesting just because they're running so small. Just had Blake in there as their 4 or 5 with all their injuries at center.
Yeah, yeah, I guess Dre could play the three.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of teams that could use him, and I think wherever he goes, he'll probably be. We'll see his numbers increase if I had to guess, and see him be a little better. Because I don't think he's washed yet. I still think he can play. He's only 31. He's not the same player he was, but if he's your third or fourth option or coming off the bench, you're probably a pretty good team.
No, honestly, I think modern day Blake is better than like 14 Blake.
Right,
Just
2018,
because
19 Blake was
Yeah,
really, really good.
just because of skill alone, you know.
Right. J- Before we move on from Blake, I just want to ask this. I heard this in a podcast, and they were talking about it, and I thought it was interesting. They had to think about it for a while. Do you think Blake's a Hall of Famer, or is he just Hall of Very Good?
Hall of Famer. People seem to forget that the NBA, that the NBA doesn't have a Hall of Fame really. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. Uh, and the Basketball Hall of Fame is really easy to get into.
Right.
I mean, you
Grant Hill
have
made the Hall
like
of Fame. I mean, no offense to him, but
exactly, you have like overseas players who are like really good for like 4 years make the Hall of Fame. You have guys who played really good for 3 seasons make the Hall of Fame. It's yeah. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just that the Basketball Hall of Fame is really easy to get into
Mhm.
compared to the other sports leagues.
I would agree with that. I looked at his stats, and then I heard this too. It was interesting. Him and like Chris Webber almost have like identical stats, like in around the same amount of like prime years, you could say, scoring wise and just numbers wise.
Hmm.
And Chris Webber will probably make the Hall of Fame because of the Fab Five and all that. And he was a good NBA player.
Yeah, and Blake
Let's
Griffin, he had the Lob City era and whatnot.
right, which was what was really fun in a transitional period for basketball.
Definitely.
So let's move into an interesting player,
Oh,
Andre Drummond. Oh,
also,
sorry.
my bad. I wanted to mention this earlier. Uh, he also did some other stuff. I mean, he was a all-star as a rookie. Um, Stuff like that. He had some of the greatest basketball moments ever. Dunking over a car, whatnot. And stuff like that.
Oh,
Because the
he will.
basketball Hall of Fame, he hasn't really
Yeah.
centered on like championships or anything.
Mhm. He will forever like be in highlight reels with just the insane dunks he had. You know, the dunk contest, obviously jumping over the car and just everything
Oh
he
yeah.
did.
No, for sure. Yeah.
This is an interesting one because I think Drummond's been a good player, but he's always been a good player. You know, good team, good, sorry, good stats, bad team. He's never really been on a winning team, and when you ask too much of Andre Drummond, it's never really turned out to be that great. And here I hear the Raptors. How much better does that make them? Like, they get a little better, but like, I don't think they're coming out of the Eastern Conference with Andre Drummond or without Andre Drummond. What do you think
Uh,
there?
um. Well, I think they just want him because Aaron Baines has been pretty atrocious, honestly. But even I don't think they'll get him just because of the money. I don't think the money can add up. But Andre Drummond, he's really good at rebounding, and then he's basically okay at everything else.
Rebounding and rolling. That's about it.
Yeah, because he can't really when he's. It's not like he can do at least serviceable against other star bigs. I mean, honestly, like, he gets destroyed by anyone. That's why when people were talking about how him going to the Nets would make a super team, I did not get that at all because it's not like he would do a better job than um Jordan.
Yeah, I think he'd be
In terms of defending, rebounding, he would
yeah, okay.
definitely do better.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, Andre Drummond, I don't know, he's really good at rebounding, and then he's okay or not good at anything else, basically, at everything else. I mean.
Yeah, he had a pretty good year. It was a good spot for him. Obviously, he got a ton of touches, and then he probably maybe would have made the All Star game if his numbers didn't fall off and if the Cavs didn't fall off. But I
No, I
just
don't
hear
think
all
he
the
would make the All-Star game anyway, just because efficiency is very important.
true. He would
Um,
have had a shot, I should say.
his turnovers too. Oh my gosh. Uh,
Yeah, he.
like serious. It's like he was trying to play make or whatever.
Mhm.
But it was I don't know. It always just looked so out of It was just he never looked like it never looked like it was in the flow of the offense or anything. You
No.
know. I don't know why he was getting the ball like at the top of the key or anything. It was just really. I don't know. Andre Drummond's pretty. I don't know. He seems to be pretty trigger happy, honestly.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
you
And
know.
yeah, they wanted him to be a playmaker, and they tried it because like they have so many athletes on that team that can cut and move off ball and get open shots, and it was just Andre Drummond would see him so late, like Isaac Okoro. he hit him once for a game winner, but he's driving every time. Andre Drummond has his back to the basket, and he's open all the time. Colin Sexton, he sees it too early or too late, and he just throws it away. So plus they're
Yeah,
so young at center for the Cavs, like it makes sense for them.
Yeah, also I don't know. Also, I don't know. It's just really weird too. I don't know why he was dribbling the ball so much. And we had teammates open. It's like he wouldn't pass to him on purpose.
Right.
Sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I always see players like that, like guys like Reggie Jackson, who are kind of like done with the ball, you know?
Ball stoppers.
Um, yeah, and I don't know. I don't really think they can contribute to winning, honestly.
No.
Detroit built around Andre for years. Well, mainly because it didn't have anybody else to build around. And we saw how that turned out. Andre Drummond is just, I don't know. He's an elite rebounder, but that's all. That's all he'll ever be.
Yeah, there's one team I actually think he would fit and make sense for. It's the Mavericks, but I don't see them doing that, and I don't. They shouldn't, in my opinion. But like, if you could put him on one team on a cheap contract, which he's not on, you would have to trade like Lowry and a couple other players, half the team almost, just to add up the contract.
Actually, with Toronto, the only way they could do it is if you add like Norman Powell's contract.
Yeah, it would have
Yeah,
to be Norman Powell or Lowry.
yeah, and Norman Powell is a significantly better player than Andre Drummond.
Yeah, I really like Norman Powell. He's a good player.
Yeah, great two-way player. Yeah, and about the Mavs, I don't even think he can fill in the Mavs, honestly. Luca, one thing that really helps Luca is spacing.
True, that is true.
That's how he can. That's really one of the few ways you can maximize his potential, though, just by spacing. That's what's really nice having Kristaps playing the five when he's there, or Keebler, most teams would much rather have him, honestly, than Andre Drummond.
Oh, for sure.
Great
I was just
defender.
sorry.
He shoots the ball, So I think, yeah, even with the Mavs, though, I don't really think they're having too much. I don't think they would need rebounding that much, in my opinion.
No, they're pretty solid rebounding. You can always have more rebounding, but rebounding and rolling, pick and roll. Him and Luka in a pick and roll would be pretty good, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think
Also, what were we gonna say? Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna wrap it up, but go ahead if you got something to say.
Okay. Also, honestly, in my opinion, I feel like rebounding in today's game isn't nearly as important as it was in like the early 2000s or 90s. So many guys now are shooting threes, and if you look how the ball travels when it hits the rim, like when you shoot it from the three line, it's not exactly gonna go right down to like the post or anything. That's one thing I noticed watching guys like Dorian Finney-Smith, and like Josh Hart and all that, because they're guys who can average like 7 rebounds, um, but they're not under the basket, they're getting them by like just missed 3-point shots, and so yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I would say big man rebounding is definitely overrated now. No one boxes out anymore. I feel like rebounding from the guard position is more important than ever, just for the reason that you stated.
Mm-hmm.
The ball bounces out way further, like off the rim to the 3-point line almost. Like if you shoot a
Yeah.
long three, it's probably going to bounce out towards the 3-point line, and your guards are going to be out there. So I think guard rebounding is more important. Also,
Oh, for
like
sure. Yeah.
what Draymond 6'6",
Mm-hmm.
and he's pretty much averaged 8 rebounds his full NBA career, right around there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or you can pay a guy like Cantor not a lot of money, and he's going to almost lead the league in rebounds. Why would you pay 27 or 28 million? I don't have the exact numbers for Andre Drummond.
Yeah. So it's like stuff like that. You know, I don't know. It's crazy how much the game has just changed in so many ways.